This two foolish HOA cops slashed my beautiful Porsche 911 Turbo that I spent almost my life savings on and thought they could get away with, but he didn't know he was never going to use that arm again. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. I'd lived in Maple Ridge Estates for just under a year. Quiet streets, overpriced lawns, and one of those HOAs that thought they were running a private government. From the day I moved in, the president, Kate, made it clear I wasn't their kind of homeowner. Maybe it was because I didn't attend her meetings, or because my Porsche 911 Turbo drew too much attention parked beside her dull beige SUV. At first, it was petty stuff. Fake warnings slipped into my mailbox, unauthorized vehicle overnight, improper driveway maintenance. Every single one had HOA Security Division printed on top, a division that didn't exist. Then came the patrols. Two men in black vests labeled HOA cops started showing up around midnight, shining flashlights at driveways and mumbling into cheap radios. My porch camera caught them every time, and I reported it to Kate. Her response? A smug smile. "Those are our new community safety officers," she said. "You should be thanking them." I knew they weren't real law enforcement, no badges, no legal authority, and their behavior screamed wannabes. But I didn't push it yet. I'd spent over a decade as a U.S. Marshal, tracking fugitives and running federal warrants. I knew when to act and when to watch. Around 2:15 p.m., I heard the distinct hiss of air leaving rubber, the kind that makes your stomach drop. I checked my camera feed, two figures crouched by my car, one holding a knife, the other keeping lookout. I moved fast. The kind of movement that doesn't come from panic, but training. They were so focused they didn't even hear me step up behind them. "Enjoying yourselves, gentlemen?" I said quietly. Both froze. The one with the knife turned slow, around his 30s, bald with beards, while the other stepped back, hand hovering near a holster that was empty. "This is private HOA business," the knife man said. "Step back, sir. Sir." That's when I knew they didn't have a clue who they were talking to, because the next few seconds, they'd learn exactly what happens when fake authority meets real law. The knife man's voice was steady, but his hands told the truth. Twitchy, uncertain, way too nervous for someone with real authority. The second guy shifted his weight like he wanted to bolt, eyes darting from me to the street. I took a slow step closer, hands at my sides. "Private HOA business," I said, tone low. "You just slashed federal property, son." That got his attention. His brow furrowed. "What?" "My car's registered under a federal agency." "Congratulations," I said evenly. "You just vandalized evidence in an active investigation." They looked at each other, confusion turning to panic. The tall one took half a step back. The one with the knife squared his shoulders and raised it chest level like he actually thought that would intimidate me. Big mistake. I moved before he finished his next breath. A step in, pivoted left, and slammed my forearm into his wrist. The blade clattered to the concrete. He tried to grab me, so I twisted, hooked his arm, and rolled his shoulder down hard into a prone arm lock. The sound that followed wasn't a pop, it was a crack. Sharp, wet, final. He screamed, hitting the pavement, face twisted in pain. I kept my weight on him, boot pressing the arm down until the knife was kicked safely out of reach. "You're done," I said, voice flat. "Don't move." The second fake cop froze. His vest looked 2 sizes too big, his fake badge dangling off Velcro like a Halloween prop. We, we were just following orders," he stammered. "From who?" I barked. He hesitated, then, like the coward he was, turned and sprinted toward their truck. I let him go. He wasn't my problem anymore. My cameras had him, the plates, and every second of this little performance recorded from 3 angles. I knelt beside the man still groaning on my driveway, clutching his arm. "You picked the wrong house," I said, "and the wrong man to mess with." He glared up at me, sweat streaking his face. "You don't know who you're dealing with," he spat. "Oh, I do," I replied, leaning closer. "Wannabes who think a vest and a clipboard make them cops, but I've seen real danger, and trust me, you're not it." Sirens started wailing in the distance, not HOA wannabe sirens, but county sheriff units. Fast, loud. I stood, hands visible, waiting as the cruisers pulled up. My neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, peeked through her blinds, phone in hand, recording like the rest of them. The sheriff stepped out, hand hovering near his weapon until he recognized me. "Marshal?" "Self-defense," I said simply, gesturing to the broken knife on the ground. "Caught them slashing my Porsche. Cameras have everything," he nodded. "We've had complaints about these fake cops for weeks. Guess you just gave us probable cause." The injured man whimpered as deputies cuffed him. I watched silently as they lifted him into the back of the cruiser. The other one was caught 2 streets over, trying to ditch his vest behind a trash can. For the first time that week, the street was quiet. My Porsche sat there wounded but still gleaming, a symbol of how far people like Kate would go to prove a point. But this time, they went too far, and they were about to learn what happens when you push a US Marshal past his limit. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe, because the story is only going to get better. By the next morning, the footage had already made its way across the HOA. Every doorbell camera, every phone clip, every whisper at the coffee shop, all of them said the same thing. Two fake HOA cops caught vandalizing a Marshal's car. One hospitalized, one arrested. Kate tried to stay quiet at first, but silence only makes guilt louder. Sheriff Morales called me down to the precinct around noon. The injured man had spilled everything. He wasn't even HOA staff, just a part-time security guard paid under the table. The second guy, the runner, confessed within the hour. Both of them told the same story. Kate had promised them a bonus if they enforced parking violations on my property. She told them I'd been defying HOA codes and threatening the board. She even printed fake violation notices and fake HOA security vests for them. But the part that really sealed it, the sheriff opened a file and slid over a set of text messages. Time-stamped, signed, undeniable. Kate, slash the tires. He'll think twice about parking that federal toy in my neighborhood. Fake cop, you sure? He's a marshal, right? He's bluffing. The sheriff just shook his head. She picked the wrong bluff. Kate was arrested later that afternoon, right in front of the HOA clubhouse she'd turned into her personal throne room. The irony? The same neighbors who used to clap for her during meetings filmed her getting cuffed and loaded into the squad car. She tried to talk her way out of it, blaming miscommunication, rogue contractors, even self-defense. None of it stuck. When the county prosecutor got hold of the footage, she was hit with a stack of charges: conspiracy to commit vandalism, criminal impersonation of law enforcement, and solicitation of assault and property damage. Each count added up fast. The judge didn't buy her crocodile tears. She was fined $55,000, sentenced to 4 years in state prison, and permanently banned from any HOA leadership position. The HOA cop runner got 2 years jail and $10,000 fine for impersonation and obstruction. As for the guy whose arm I broke, 5 years in prison, $35,000 fine. The medical report confirmed it: compound fracture, permanent nerve damage. He'll never hold a weapon again. The DA ruled it self-defense, clear, justified, and captured from multiple angles. When the dust settled, I stood by my Porsche watching the tow truck haul it off for repairs. The sheriff patted my shoulder. "You handled it better than most would have." "Better?" I said with a small grin. I went easy on him. We both laughed. And as the sun set across the quiet cul-de-sac, I glanced at my new porch camera feed. Clean, steady, and online 24/7. Because if anyone tried that again, I wouldn't just be ready. I'd be waiting. And that's how two fake HOA cops learned the hard way. When you mess with a Marshal's Porsche, you don't just lose your job, you lose your arm. What do you think, folks? Was I too harsh for breaking his arm? What would you have done? I'd like to know your thoughts. Leave it in the comments section. The end.